Tell folks a little about yourself.
Sure.
How'd you kind of get doing this, and what does your kind of typical day or week kind of look like these days?
Okay, that's good. So my kind of background and story will feed into this topic for sure. So I actually started my career in the blue collar space. So I had a landscaping company in my 20s that I started from scratch at age 17, built up, kind of funded college and beyond, and late 20s kind of time frame, realized that was not what I wanted to do anymore, right? So I sold the business, was able to exit successfully from this landscaping company, funded grad school at that point, went back to grad school to become a counselor, a therapist. Most of my clinical background, early on at least, was with kids who are in the child welfare space, foster care, and places like that. I worked a lot with adolescents. And I've had quite a few different kind of roles and jobs. I've had some corporate gigs, have a corporate gig, and my counseling practice now is specifically focused on men. And I look at men kind of high school and up, so 13 to 70 or whatever. So that's kind of my niche and my focus. And like you said, what wall are you hitting, and how can we look at it together and get you over it?
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So just curious, where was your landscape business?
It was in the North Metro area. So I always joke because I know every single back road in North Atlanta. I can get anywhere. I don't need map. Yeah. It's a skill that you don't really need anymore.
Google
but
Maps,
great.
forget that.
Just call me if you get lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just need your voice on my phone.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, make a left somewhere up
Be
here at the next Shell station.
Yes.
You'll see it's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think the most logical place for us to jump into this is we're in our 20s.
Yeah.
We're hanging out in our 20s.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you would see, or that when you think about developmental stages?
Yeah.
What's kind of the work that you think we need to be thinking about doing in our 20s?
Yeah. So I would actually start briefly by taking a step back into the adolescent years.
Nice.
Just by saying, when I was working with adolescents, specifically kids who have gone through a lot, right? Maybe have experienced trauma or just really challenging times. It's always appropriate to get counseling if you're stuck, but a lot of times what I saw in those adolescent years is you can really do some good work around symptoms management, right? Let's get you from a level 10 angry to level 7 angry so you can stay in school and all of that. You're not gonna really be able to get into that inner work piece as easily. A lot of times because you're in the middle of whatever it is that's causing that, maybe it's parent or whatever. So I would say the first thing in the 20s is if you've experienced anything significant in your childhood, that's the time to start getting into those things, right? And to take a look at your family of origin issues if you've got those. If there's some trauma in your history, that would be the time to at least begin a journey down that road to healing around that stuff. But at a high level, Brandon, I would say really it's identity, right? You're coming out of college and figuring out who you are and what you're going to be about. And so you're still in many ways, and I experienced this, and I think many of us have, you're trying on identities, right? And you're trying to figure out who you are, right? And so that kind of core piece of that decade for me, for sure, is still about identity and figuring that identity piece out.
Dude, you said a lot of things in that.
Okay.
You really did. You said a lot. So first, you said about the symptom management piece, which I really liked. That's essentially, you take it from a 10 to a 7 or something like that.
Yep.
And to be frank, a lot of the work I do as an executive coach is not deep inner work. Yep. That's really the job of a therapist or counselor.
Yep.
My job is really symptom management, making adjustments in behaviors when people can't, or when the symptoms are so extreme that they need to do deeper work to get a kind of the core root of that.
Right.
So I think that was a nice, really important point. But I also really, really love the way you framed up your 20s, because you said, if you've had something traumatic happen to you, you really want to think about that and start working on it in your 20s. And what made me think, as you were talking, I thought, oh yeah, because if you don't, that's going to affect your identity.
Yeah.
And it's also going to affect who you select as a partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I've often seen happen is our unconscious, so you tell me if this is what you see and when it's different. Our unconscious mode is to just relive the pattern of our parents. And select the partner that they selected, and just kind of that's our mode.
Yep.
Right. Now, if we really didn't like that, then we may kind of buck against that. But I've seen people buck the other way, where they're still
reactive.
Totally reactive. It's actually still not actually a proactive identity of who I am. It's just I'm going to do everything opposite of my dad or of my mom, which ironically enough is still living your life based on your parents' identity.